Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to install the BT Moto IAT kit, there it is, onto a 2025 BMW S1000RR. The 2025 S1000RR is unique, and that's why I need to make a new install video for you guys, because it has a whole new system in the front here, and we're going to route it a little bit differently than we normally do. To get started here, we're going to remove the 3 T25s here, here, and here. This is a longer bolt here. These are 2 short shouldered bolts. Once all 3 of these bolts are removed, we're just going to rip up. That's it. Removing the seat is next. That's just 1 T25. In the center, pull it right up and out. Next, we have the side panels here on the tank, or the tank huggers as people call them. That's just 2 T25s. Both are the exact same size. Those come out, and then you want to get back here, push this down and out like this, and on carbon fairings, just push forward. Even on the plastic fairings, you just push forward, and there you go. You can see it hangs right here, and there is on the plastic fairings, there's another piece that hangs over here, but it's not included on these fairings. Now we just have a T25 that holds the ECU. It's very long and it has a washer on it. Now what I do here is pull these lines, these vacuum lines right there on each side of the tank. There's one on each side, really easy to pull out. Now you have a 13mm nut right here with a washer. Make sure not to lose any of these. It's pretty easy to unroll this and then throw it down the engine, so don't do that. And sometimes this likes to get stuck. When it gets stuck, I just kind of hit it really quick, but don't need to do that here. Now at the back of the tank here, we have a 10mm bolt. Very long, comes out easily. Okay, now the tank is ready to pick up off the bike. What I would do is kind of shake the ECU a little bit, kind of move it so it's forward. The tank will pick up from the rear and the front, like this. And then I would move the tank, I move it to the side like this, but I'm kind of an old pro when it comes to this stuff. And I can kind of hoist it up on the body itself so I can get under here. Now under here we have a couple of wiring harnesses and the fuel feed line, which we need to disconnect. Now the fuel line just disconnects by pushing the white tab. There'll be a couple drops that come out, nothing crazy. This, like just put a screwdriver there. Line and line. Now the electronics are gone, and we can pull the tank straight out of the motorcycle. And so for the IAT kit, you can see it hiding right there on top of the airbox. That's where we're going to elongate. We're going to bring it down for this harness here and bring it to the front nose. Now some people could literally just take the IAT line here, extend it down through this harness, down through here, up through there, probably attach this line right here, go to the front and get to the nose through there. Now I don't like to do it that way. I like to do it properly, and I like to do it where I don't see anything on the motorcycle. So to do it properly, we have to tear down the bike even from the airbox and even the front here, which really, I know it sounds like a lot of work, but really this is just a few bolts and a couple connectors, not a big deal. Just follow the video. Believe me, you won't regret doing it the right way. So let me show you guys how to do this the easy way. First, we're going to pull off this pair valve. Harness gone right here. You push in the 2 tabs. And that comes out. That line will pull out from the airbox right there as a connector. I'll just go ahead and pull out the injectors as well while I'm here. You just push up on the tab, wiggle a little bit, and it'll come out. Don't be too forceful. These are important electronics on the bike. And there's also one for a valve on this side. It looks just like an injector, pulls out like an injector, but doesn't have the same look to it. Like this is orange, you see it's black, so you can't really confuse them. Now on your bike, you'll probably have a zip tie right here you'll have to disconnect. This pulls up, and I'm just going to take a flat-headed screwdriver, because it's hard to get into this one little section here, and wiggle this thing until she comes out. Now the harness will pull out of here. This harness comes out like this. Really easy, right? I put this to the side, and now we've freed the ECU. You see right there? Now we just need to pull the IAT out. That pulls out really easily. And then right here we have for this right here, this is going to be for the stack. The upper stack's going up and down. It's a motor for them. That needs to pull out as well. Now that's all gone. We have a T20 here. This is for the harness. A T20 here. A T20 right here. T20 right here. And a T20 on this side, which is kind of at an angle. It's hard to get to. Just be very careful with it. Comes right out. And we also have one more T20 right there. Now you can see this harness pulls right out like this, and I like to leave the ECU connected to it. Now we have to deal with the injectors. Also the same, T20, and there's 4 of them. Now these are kind of dug in there. So you might not be able to get your finger in there to get it out, so you might need a magnet or some needle nose pliers or whatever you got available to you. I find it easiest to use the magnet. You don't really need the magnet, it just makes this process easier and you don't lose anything for sure. Now that those are out, you can now pull out the injectors, but I leave them in there just like that, just for now. What else to do while I'm here? Some housekeeping. Pull that vacuum line out, put it to the top there. Pull this vacuum line out, put it right around here on the throttle cable. These will all stay above the air flapper right here. And there's a couple that will go under. You make sure those stay under. Now for this annoying piece down here. This piece has a weird clip to it. And I'll show you guys how to do this. Let me see if I can get it on a camera here. Kind of want to make sure you get it at an angle like this. There we go. And then to put this unique piece back on, you're just going to clamp there and there, and it goes back together again. But that's why we need to separate. So I put the clamp basically on this piece of it, and this piece of it, and then twist like that. I put like this, and then put it together, and I'll twist it off like that basically, and get rid of all the slack in there. Now I push this forward, and then you'll want to push this back like that. Now I wouldn't go too crazy with this thing at first. I just make sure it pulls off of that. If you need to, sometimes I'll take pliers like this and push it back with that, or maybe even flathead if it's stuck and kind of push the corners a little bit. It'll be maybe stuck a little bit. Then you want to make sure you get a paper towel as well, because this loves to bleed oil. And then as soon as you pull it off, paper towel everything under there. And now we're going to be removing the bolts of the airbox here. 2 T30s, one here and one here you're going to remove. Very easy, and when you put them back in fact I may need to put a little more torque on this because I put them at 10 usually. Right there. Now, well, that just flew out, so don't make sure it doesn't fly out. Then these come out, and this kind of sandwiches between the frame and the plastic. Really easy to kind of miss and really easy to put back in, but frame and plastic right there. Now after you remove these 2 T30s, a word to the wise here, we have a couple T40s at the bottom here, these black bolts at the base. They're really easy to remove once you get the T30s at the top out. Now when you remove them, the whole airbox is going to come out. We're going to pull this whole thing out. When you put it back in, make sure when you slide the airbox back onto the bike, the first bolts you put in are going to be these 2 black bolts. And you just barely, make sure this is pushed down and you barely kind of put them in. Make sure you get some catch on both of them. Then you can put the tops in and then you can tighten these. Otherwise, you're probably going to cross thread them because these ones love to cross thread unless you do them first. Now that that's all off, go ahead and remove this from the side. Those kind of dangle right there. And we have this loose already. I told you not to disconnect it because we don't want oil going everywhere just yet. Everything seems to be good to go. We got to pull these upper injectors out as the last part to this. The reason why it's the last part is because it's very fragile, especially this fitting right here. Now, I haven't ever broken one of these fittings, but it is plastic and it is for fuel, and it is a pain if you do break it. Now the airbox will pull right up. A couple of little things to note here. There are little keepers or plastic rubber pieces. They're kind of gaskets. You want to make sure those stay on, because sometimes, like you just saw, it was stuck on the motor. Make sure that stays on there, and make sure you get a rag. Now, I don't have any oil coming out of mine. You may have oil coming out of yours. I've had oil come out of these before. It kind of drips out. There's nothing to be concerned with. This is the breather line for the crankcase pressure, and oil will go up this and typically go into the airbox and saturate the airbox, which is exactly how the OEM is designed to do. So don't worry about that if you have a little bit of oil in this line, guys. Now we're almost done as far as the engine goes. We just need to pull out this plastic inlet and then we can route the line. Now you can see in there, these are 2 T30s. Very easy, they're at a slant or at an angle. So we remove them. You gotta move them at an angle. Okay, now that those bolts are removed, there's 2 little tabs at the side here. You can see them right there. You kind of push this tab in and then pull at the same time, but because I'm holding the camera, I'm gonna have to do this off camera. I just wanted you guys to see it. So tab in, yank a little bit, and there she comes. Now you will have at the bottom here, we've got the harness for the flapper, which removes right out. Now I know it's tempting, guys, to push on these to kind of see the engine or see your valves, and maybe it's kind of cool, but unless you have a GS911 tool, if you do that, you are gonna brick your bike because the throttle becomes non-operable if you even push on these with everything disconnected. It's kind of crazy. So make sure you don't push on these, and if you do, you'll have to do a throttle valve reset. So why go through all this trouble when you can just put the line through the top, right? Well, my plan here is to route the line down through here, through the whole harness, zip tight to the harness, and get it through the OEM. This is an OEM tunnel, actually, for harnesses, so we're going to utilize this. And before we forget here, you can see we have the IAT block off right here. This is the OEM hole, so we're going to be blocking that up is now we're rerouting to the front of the bike. Now it is a very, very snug fit. That's not coming out of there. Now we just need to disconnect the IAT, simple harness and pull, that's it. And then we just plug in our extension harness here. Well, let's do it the right way, right? Extension harness. Maybe the right way, right? There we go. And it kind of snugs right into there. Now I wouldn't zip tie anything just yet. I would just kind of lay it bare onto the wiring harness. And we are going to get this out. There's a piece up of the top here. There we go. You see that opens up just like that. Now we're going to take the IAT extension harness and run it right through there. After you run it, you can close this down. And now you see we got a nice OEM RAN line. And now we've got the IAT here coming out of here. Well, we can't just connect this like that. That's going to look bad, right? We got to make this look really good. So we got to start pulling apart the front of the bike. We're going to start with the mirrors first. These are two 10 millimeters. You can see them right there. They pull right out. OEM, they're 10 millimeter, and this is the aftermarket Rizoma one, they're 10 millimeter. Now, if you have aftermarket mirrors, they just pull right out because you have no turn signals on these. If you do have the turn signals, I recommend you doing the harness first before you even start touching the mirrors and pulling those 10s out, which is the T25s here, 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 and here. 4 of those come out and the windscreen will pop out. Keep in mind while you're pulling these out, these bottom ones are washered. There's an actual washer on them, see it right there? But there's no washer on the top ones. See, no washer, just keep that in mind. And I usually just try to pull it up with this rubber piece if you can. If you can't, not a big deal. Just pull the whole windscreen out. And these rubber nubbins, I'd pull them out. Makes it easier for install. Next, this piece just rips off and down, real easy. And if you had connectors, this is how you'd remove them. Put a little flathead right in there, pulls out, pulls out. Now you can remove the 10 millimeters for the mirrors and they'll pull out without any resistance. Now that that's out, the goal here is to pull off each of these fairings. Now, there's nothing connected to this fairing anymore to the bike except for the very front here, which is a new way it fits to the bike. And it goes from underneath here, hole right there and a hole right there. That's where you're able to get the nose off this thing. Now, it is a little bit of a fishing exercise since you can't really see in this hole, but if you can see right here, if you look really carefully and closely in there, you see the silver for the bolt right there. So if you can see the silver for that bolt, all you have to do is angle your tool, which is a T25, by the way. There it is, so I got it now. So it's definitely possible just fishing around in there and you get it, it's a T25. Now I gotta go ahead and remove both of these. So the best practice here is fishing for the bolt. There we go. It's quite a long bolt. So even if you think you got it, just keep going. Now it's not wanting to come out again. It's kind of stuck in there. Oh, it just kind of fell out. So this one just kind of fell out, but the other one I had to pull here. So this had to take this off, by the way. You just pull, 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 pull the side here, and then that should all come out. And just so you guys can see there, that's what it's secured by. These are all push tabs, basically. They're all plastic. So just keep this for reference right here. There's one on the side, you can see right there, and then they have a bunch right here. And then just that screw hole at the bottom. That's what kind of holds everything together. Now in the older models, it was just these 2 bolts right here, and this whole thing would kind of pull right out. Now, we do have the inlet, which is attached to it, but it's also attached to these wings. So let me pull out these bolts. I'm pretty sure I have to pull out the bolt down here, and we'll see if it pulls out that way. If not, I'll have to pull out one of the bolts of the wings here, one of the bolts of the wings here to give me enough space to move this out of the way. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It seems to be stuck at the bottom. Now this bottom bolt here is a T25, right underneath the nose. So I've never pulled this part out before, so I'm learning with you guys here. No, I don't feel good pulling that out. So let's go ahead and start removing the side here for the wings. One right there, the front, that one. And then also one right here, same one over the side right there. Now that should loosen it up enough where it's letting loose of this. All right, you can see I got enough space now to pull this right out. And I had to remove 2 bolts. So it was, it's really hard to get under here, guys. Basically, let me see what I can show you from here. It's this bolt that holds the very front nose right here. And then this bolt as well. And that gives me enough space to pull this whole side fairing out. Also keep in mind, the longer bolt goes to the back, under the bike here for the fairing, and the shorter bolt goes closer to the nose. Just keep that in mind. Now let me see if I can get this out. A couple tabs here, a couple small tabs there. I can finagle this out. I can get this out. There we go, the whole thing pulls out. Okay, now let me show you guys exactly how I ran this line. So of course, we have the harness through here. It's going through the OEM connector and OEM harness that we lifted up and put back in there. Then I ran it down through here. You can see the line. Where is it? It's pretty well hidden at this point. I put it on this rubber. There's a rubber OEM tie right here. You can disconnect yourself and put the IAT kit under it. You can see the line right here. Let me pull this out of the way right here. So I ran it through that line right there, and you can see this is the IAT line right here. And you can see just a little bit of it right there, and then it fades underneath there. Now, the way I secure it under here so it's not just a loose hanging wire right here, see this line right here? Zip tie around here, go straight down, and zip tie it to itself again, and then zip tie the IAT line to this line, and then compress it together. That way it'll keep it under here, so you're not seeing anything, and it'll keep it from binding on the forks at all while you're going left and right. And you can see the line coming down through here, guides it right through there, and then up right through here. Now what we have to do is remove the combi and make our hole. So the first step into removing the combi is removing these 3 C-clips. We'll get some pliers, that's the only way to get these out. Now you see I'm dealing with a curved set of pliers right here. Makes this job really easy. There's only 3 of these, but make sure you don't lose them. If you lose them, these are the only ones you got. OEM, they kind of put them in really weird spots. When I put them back in here, it'll be easier spots. Last one, of course, is completely tilted the wrong way, so I'll have to grab it, face the right way, and then pull her out. And that's all 3 of them right there. After those 3 are removed, you can pull the combi like that, remove the wiring harness, just grab it from the bottom there, and then this, very, very careful, costs like thousands of dollars or a few $1,000s, and there it is, comes right out. And we're putting our drill bit right through here, so we have to prep this area and get the OEM wiring harness out of the way, so we're not drilling into that, because that's not going to be good. Get the IAT out of the way right there. And now we have a good spot to drill right in there. Now I get a towel or a junk rag, throw it right there in the inlet. This is to catch any debris, the plastic debris that's going to be falling down. Now the hole for the IAT is actually a 1/2 inch, but I'm using a 3/8. I'm going to kind of wall it out from there. That's okay. Now I'm going to kind of wall it out really well here. I'll remove any shavings. Now keep in mind, if you do a 3/8 hole, it's going to be tight. So you're going to have to keep drilling little by little. Whereas if you were doing a 1/2 inch, you wouldn't have to drill pretty much anything. It would be nice and loose in there. But I like the nice tight fit. All right, so little by little, I inched it out, and then we've got, right in there, you can see it's nice and tight now. I can try and move it. It's not really moving, but I like it nice and tight like that. Let's see, try to move it from the bottom here. You can see there's a little bit of movement, but not a whole lot. I can barely turn this thing. So it is going to stay in the inlet just like that. Now it's just a matter of taking the harness that we've already routed, connecting it, and then clipping the gray top. That finishes the IAT kit. Now all I have to do is put everything back together. All right, you see the IAT right there. I ran the line through here. I even zip tied it to the horn right there, so it's nice and clean through here, and it goes down through there. It goes up through there. You can barely see it right there, but it doesn't touch anything. And you can't even see it actually through here. And it's through the OEM harness here. And then we're gonna zip tie this up while you're putting the bike back together. Don't do it yet, do it after the bike comes together, and it's one of the last things you'll do as soon as this harness kind of lays on. I'd probably zip tie these ones first, right up to about here, and then leave this not zip tied until everything goes back together, and put the final 2 zip ties back on it to kind of secure everything together. So that's gonna be it for our IAT installation. Now with the BT Moto Flash, you're able to make sure you get ambient temperature readings, which means more power and more consistent power in the motorcycle safely. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.